Okay. Moving on, let's try to get some example on what are the good infusion of cultural heritage in games today. Of course, we'll talk a bit of Assassin's Creed and whatnot, but if you can go a little bit detail on how should we infuse, what are the games that out there that has infused culture in the best manner that you think can be. So moving on from the Pepper Please, moving on from Assassin's Creed on, and also maybe Romans the Kingdom, we can go deeper into that. So anybody want to continue on that?
Okay, just to add a bit there, because Buzz was saying about games that infuse culture best. I'm going to give the opposite example. So I bought Uncharted 2 when it came out, and so I brought it home, was happy to play it. And it turns out that at one moment in Uncharted 2, you go to a location in Borneo. And you look at the ancient map, like, wait a minute. They're going to somewhere around Sabah or Sarawak. And they have a mountain in the level, like, yeah, it's probably Sabah. That's the only place where you have a mountain, right? I have a friend visiting. She's from Sabah. So I invited her to just come and play the level, because I thought she'd probably like it. So the thing is, she is a pure Sabahan in the sense that she loved her state. She loved every rock, every plant, every animal. I'm not kidding about this. She became an expert of it, and she is actually one of the officers in the department in Sabah that is cataloging the species and the rocks in Sabah. She knows her shit. So when she was playing the game, she was going, that bird doesn't belong here. That plant doesn't belong here. Why did they make that mountain volcano? So the thing is, to her, it wasn't a good experience, because she knows that place is supposed to emulate a region in Sabah, but it gets everything wrong. Now, the game was a good game. It was a fun game. It was a very detailed game. But the thing is, when you see these moments and you get that, okay, they did research but didn't get it right, you wonder about the rest of the game. It was fun, it's beautiful, but can we actually really accept it? Switching to a good example, there was one game that I played with my friend, and it blew our heads away when we play it. It's Burnout Dominator on the PS2. So Burnout Dominator has like 4 fantasy cities, and one of the cities is called Spiritual City. And when we were playing, we realized that we're actually playing in Kuala Lumpur. It wasn't named Kuala Lumpur, but you can see Bangunan Sultan Abdul Samad in there. You can see the, Petaling Street plastic covering up there. You can see the markings on the road, the markings on the concrete, the choice of buildings they put in there. It's actually authentic Kuala Lumpur. So even though they didn't name it, spiritually it felt that it's actually in Kuala Lumpur. And that made me wonder, all the other cities they put in the game, did they actually try to make it as accurate? Last weekend, by the way, Burnout Dominator is a series from the Burnout series that were created by Criterion. And they didn't actually make Dominator, they got another studio to do it, but someone from Criterion came to Malaysia last weekend, so I asked him about it. And he said that when they do research, they deliberately go out and find little details that would represent the authenticity of the area. They're looking for repetitive patterns, like for example, this floor right here. 3D artists will look for this because it is a simple repetitive pattern that they can put on a 3D surface, and because they got it from that location, it will actually represent that location. And if you walk out in town right now, you will see a lot of repetitive patterns. That's what they did. And because they were very careful in identifying which pattern goes where, the effect of being in an authentic city was done right. So I would quote Burnout Dominator as one of the better examples of how it would represent culture.
Yeah. Cool stuff, man. Burnout Dominator. I remember that game. But I totally forgot about it being like really like Kuala Lumpur. I gotta dig back my game and play it again. I think for me, it's all about credibility. As Hilmi mentioned, when the Criterion guys wanted to create a location, everybody or a core team would go to that location and spend a lot of time there. Same example I could pick from when we were doing the current Need for Speed. You know, I didn't go, but I had to send a group of my seniors to go to Los Angeles because we needed a credible Los Angeles. We needed people to play it. We don't name it Los Angeles, but to give the feeling of Los Angeles. So sometimes a product would, like Hilmi mentioned, name it the right place, but get it all wrong. But take inspiration from a real place, but get every single thing right. So we couldn't name it Los Angeles because of licensing issues and all that. So, but the point I wanted to point out is, it's all about credibility. Game is about immersion. And if you played Sleeping Dogs, for me it was awesome because I worked in Codemasters and a lot of my friends in KL are mixed, like Junaidi mentioned. Although I can't speak Cantonese, I wish I could. They all spoke Cantonese around me, and when I played Sleeping Dogs, it was really nice because going around the city, playing the missions, it felt very, very authentic in my opinion. The credibility. Even though I wish they build a bigger Hong Kong, but even they did the small bit, they got it right. So that's where I feel this whole credibility is the strong point in the games. And when you play it, even though you've never been there, it gives you the feeling that it's something you're familiar with. So yeah.
Well, actually, the question is rather tough, though. I'm not sure about cultural heritage, part of it that being depicted in a nice manner, or the best example. But the one that caught my mind is quite recent game, actually, from the franchise of Grand Theft Auto, believe it or not, GTA 5, right, and its long history of Los Santos, right, is everybody knows that it's supposed to be an imagined city of LA, Los Angeles, right? Never been there before. Then I thought, like, okay, is this how the actual thing? Is this how the people act, right? There's not much cultural value in it, But after being there, then I see that it's actually quite true, And the places that's being done and being depicted in, almost 100% correct manner. The streets, the way they were doing their daily business. And if you have played the game, then the different type of people going about their daily business in the suburb area or in the urban area. Then they have people that on the projects, I call it, a bit poorer community, and then you have the trailer park people. Those are the group of people that actually lives in that area. And after seeing the real thing, believe it or not, it is kind of almost close to what being depicted in the game, right? Even though the game is not, I would say, a very good example of how the Americans, live their lives, I guess. But it is a good practice of depicting what is real out there and put it inside the game. But it's a very violent game, I would say. But that is one of the good examples that I could think of. You take something out there and put it in a very close resemblance in a game setting. And I like Hilmi pointed out, there are also people that do it in the worst way possible, right? Sometimes people who are capable of doing it in a very good manner, you really enjoy it, and there are also people who just fail to do so. Maybe, in my opinion, people get a bit of conflict when they try to get something in the real world into a game, because Hilmi also pointed out, most of the time and early stage of game development, it was made out of fantasy, right? You never aim to produce something real and put it in a game. So perhaps the bad example came about because people want to be creative about it and just take the real thing, put in their so-called flair or personal touch, and just manage to mess it up. And I think these kind of mistakes or blunder, not exclusive to game. You've seen it in films, you've seen it in books, in other form of content creation. Hollywood film has been known to wrongly depict so many things, outside of the States. Whenever they go and shoot in different country, they always manage to screw something up. But I guess it is the partial reason for it to that it happened is because people try to infuse the creative juice on top of the existing thing that already exists in real world. So I guess that is the challenge that we have, how to make good of actual thing and put it inside a creative project or content creation. But yeah, going back to the question, I can't think of anything better than GTA 5 for now that pick the real situation of the real world in video games. Yeah.